Hello, you are welcome to today's edition of Publish and Prosper. This is going to be an interactive session. So, I want to first of all appreciate every one of us for being here. I want to say a good, beautiful good afternoon to all the distinguished scholars, all our esteemed colleagues, and members of the Academia Cafe Elites ACE community. Thank you all for being here. And I want to say it is an honor to welcome you all to episode 3 of Publish and Prosper series. Now, here is the thing. Publish and Prosper is designed to be a space where we come together to reimagine academia, where we come together to redefine the values and the compass that drive academia. And that is why this episode 3, is specially designed, because we are not just here to talk about what academia is. We already know what academia is. We are here to have a quality conversation, to curate a conversation on what academia could become and the role that we as academics and researchers have to play in making that dream, that vision, reality. Now, so because of this, we have taken our time as a team, as a community, to ensure that we strategically make selection of the panelists that we will be having to join me here today. We have 4 brilliant minds who are with innovative experiences in teaching, research, leadership, and mentoring. And each of them is bringing to this conversation today not just expertise, but wisdom that is born of lived reality, of the beauty, the burden, and the becoming of the academic profession. I want you to know that this has been orchestrated and you are in the right space. So I want you to lean in, ensure that you are present here, and most importantly, participate. And let this be more than just a conversation for you and I today. We design it to be a spark for the academic rebirth that we all desire. And we can begin that conversation and the implementation that follow after from today. So I want to welcome you all again for being here this moment. Now, the theme of today's episode, which is the academic profession, what we wish for, what it should be, what it could be. This theme is a clarion call on all of us that is on this conversation, that this is time for us to pause, reflect, and reimagine the future of the academic calling itself, because beyond the titles, the promotions, and the publications lies something that is deeper, a deeper question that we keep asking: what kind of academic world are we truly creating for ourselves, for our students, and most importantly, for the generations to come? And for every committed individual who are on this conversation and we stay true to the end. Now, here's the thing. For your time, effort, and the data bundle that you are going to spend to be on air with us, you are going to be rewarded with information that will define your research career journey for unmatched recognition and reward. And we also promise you access to a resource material that will change your research journey for life. That access will be given at the close of today's conversation. So once again, you are welcome. And today on Publish and Prosper, our focus, like I said earlier, is centered around the core realities of the academic profession and the amazing future we could create with it for all of us. So this is the highlights of what we are going to be covering today. Now, like a wise man, I've heard a wise man said, questions are the answers. Now, these are the questions that our conversation today will center around. Academia, what are the ideal visions? Joining academia, what should be the inspiration? So you begin to assess, am I in it with the right inspiration? Am I in it focusing on the right vision? And stay in academia, what could make it better worth it? Aspiration and reality, are there ways to integrate both of them? Commitment, are there possibilities to make it worth the sacrifice? And last but not the least, AI academic era. What does the future of academia look like? And what are the adaptive approaches that we can apply in that future to realize our aim, to realize our vision, and to make our mission go smoothly, achieving what we desire to achieve? Just like our goal at S Community is one goal, an empowered and fulfilled scholars. So this is also moving us and taking us further into achieving that goal. Okay, I am Dr. Tom Ido, an associate professor with Modibo Adama University, Yola, and I'm privileged to be the moderator for today's conversation. And I want to also let us know that today we are going to be having deeper conversation that will be revealing a lot of truth that we either choose to overlook or we know but we don't want to talk about. And joining me today are 4 distinguished panelists. We have a veteran professor whose work and mentorship have inspired generations of academics and shaped the intellectual culture in our institutions. We also have an associate professor and an advocate for academic innovation, known for his practical insights on bringing research, leadership, and on bridging research, leadership, and societal impact. We have a senior lecturer and an emerging voice in research excellence and mentorship. She represents the passionate academics shaping the next decade of university landscape. And we also have an amazing assistant lecturer who is a vibrant young academic bringing fresh perspectives, modern realities, and the hopes of early career researchers navigating the changing academic landscape. So we are deeply grateful to have all of you here with us today. And I must say, they are preparedness for today is something I deeply respect. So thank you all for our moderator. They are all in the house, like I put in one of our messages that we send out. They are pragmatic, wise, and are future focused, and they are visionary. And we are going to be experience that in the conversation that we are going to be having today. So as we get into this conversation today proper, here are a few things that I want us to take note of. Now, we are not here to impress or grade. We are here for real talk, open conversation, and to walk away not just informed, but empowered. So whether you are an aspiring scholar seeking to get into academic professional, or you are an early career academic finding your footing, or you are a mid-career academic in quest of recognition, or a senior career researcher navigating the significant maze, you are in the right space. So I encourage you and I want you all on this conversation, take a breath and let's settle in. Now, as we settle in, I want us to imagine how it will look like if we have a system in academic ecosystem that benefits every one of us, bring out the leadership in every one of us, and allow every individual academics live an empowered and fulfilled life. How will it look like? So let's reimagine today and create that exact career success that we all desire. So on behalf of the Academia Cafe elites, the HACE community, you all this episode 3 of Published and Prosper. We talk bold insight. So welcome all. All right, now let's get to know our panelists. Now, this is how we are going to do this. You our approach is usually simple but significant and unique. Each panelist will briefly introduce themselves by telling us their names, academic field, institution, and tell us what inspired them to join academia and one reality about academia that shocked them. Now, I mean shocked them. This shock, there's difference between shock and surprise. That shocked them. One reality about academia that shocked them. Now, I would like to start with Mr. Okewole, then we proceed to Dr. Oyeniran, then to Dr. Danima, and then to Professor Erifeta. So you have 3 minutes each, and please feel free to be expressive and authentic. If you can bring this in form of story, narrative for us, we will appreciate it. So let's hear from Mr. Okewole.
Good afternoon, my powerful convener of this erudite program and the wise audience that we shall be having interaction with because of this program. Yes, my name is Okiwole Yusuf Babatunde, and my field is sociology. And as earlier announced by Dr. Tom, I am an assistant lecturer at the Ladoke Aketola University of Technology of Bumosho, likely in the Department of Sociology. Then moving on to what actually inspired me to join the academia. That's very, very interesting. Well, I grew up in a family of parents who were both teachers. So I was rooted in a learning environment right from a younger age. And I had my first teaching experience immediately after secondary school. And that was to later be um, grounded by a guide from my dad to go through practical teaching training experience. First at TTC, Teachers Training College, and later to NCE to become a professional teacher. This early exposure actually solidified my passion for education because in the course of my active involvement in teaching learning process, I realized the existential role of knowledge production and dissemination in driving human development across society. So knowledge is not just about information, but a critical catalyst for societal progress. And so my inspiration for joining academia stems from a deep understanding of this that is being knowledge as a transformative force in human development. Then to be part of the few propagating education is a big deal for me. That is the actual inspiration for me. And this is in alignment with my personal goal, which is to make a meaningful impact on human development. So teaching and research emerged as the perfect vehicle for this kind of inspiration that I nurture. So in short, what truly inspires me is the epochal significance of academia to society. The opportunity to be part of this noble profession that shapes societal progress, nurtures critical thinking, and contributes to human development is a big thing for me. So, teaching and research is not just a career, but a calling shaped by, let's say, providence, and then, of course, a strong commitment to societal transformation. And meanwhile, moving on to what has actually shocked me. Well, let me start this by saying that regarding class experience, it's going to 20 years now, but experience in the university setting is just a few more than 2 years now. But so though I had some information and then of course had exposure to something, the system before I joined. What actually the first thing that actually shocked me was when I joined the university system. Which I think is not even specific to the academic environment that I work, but also everywhere is the fact that I noticed in terms of interaction among academia, there is this what I did not expect, bullying. And bullying, I see bullying as a reflection of social structural discrimination, especially between senior and junior colleagues. And they propagate this in different, many ways.
Thank you very much. That is some of the truth that we may not want to come out fully to say as academic in most times when academic gather and meet. So without taking much out of our time, Dr. Yenio, you can unmute and speak.
Okay. Good afternoon, my esteemed facilitator.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And good afternoon to all my senior colleagues and colleagues all over Nigerian higher institutions. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon with you. My name is Dr. Folashade Maridiya Oyeniran. I'm a senior lecturer at the University, Obafemi Awolowo University in the Department of Educational Technology. And I'm happy to be part of this progressive team. What actually attracted me to academics I must confess that in the first instance, as a young lady growing up amidst peers who wanted to be doctors and lawyers and accountants and all that, who wanted to go into professions that were highly prized, that were held in high esteem, I looked at myself, I looked at my strengths, I looked at my areas of interest, and I decided I was going into creative arts. And this was a kind of rude shock for my parents, who happened to also belong to the academic community, and so many others that knew me. So some colleagues even approached my dad that, why this young lady who had such brilliant performance at the terminal examination level, are you allowing her to go into a field of, they called it all sort of nicknames, try to make it sound like if you were not going to end up as a lawyer or engineer or a doctor, you were going to end up in an entity in life. And I told myself that, well, this is something I know that if you wake me up from sleep, I can easily do. And regardless of my state of mind or whatever, I will still have that, that's inspiration to keep on. So I went in and I decided before I was through with the program that, well, to kind of compensate, because even as a student, during my interaction in the course of my undergraduate days, some people will say, what are you reading? You are reading fine art of all courses. I bet you're still going to change course. I said, no, I'm not planning any change of course. And some of them will, because there was always this feeling that once you went for some of these single honors courses, it must be that you never quite made it during your terminal examinations, the WAEC and JAMBs and all that, that you never quite made it. Perhaps you were dropped into that course, not that you purposely wanted to go and study. So I decided that, well, if it is title that matters, if some people are going by the appellation Dr. This, Professor this, and accountant or architect this, well, I would also go into the academics and do the best I can in that my chosen field. I will get to the peak of my career, and that was how the journey began. And here am I in academics today. So one of the things that actually gave me a lot of shock, which took a while to get over, was the amount of workload that was there in the academics. As a young lecturer just joining, and as a woman too, it wasn't it wasn't quite what I thought. Meet
Okay.
academic and professional demands was not easy at all. As a postgraduate student, you struggle to beat deadlines. You manage one class after the other with large classes that don't bring out the best of your efforts. And you still have to serve as advisor to undergraduate students placed under your care. You process their results. You handle other departmental responsibilities handed down by your department. And in fact, your closing hour was often the beginning of a second shift, as if you're a hospital worker or something. So I could just imagine colleagues that are just settling down, newly married and all that. It was not a very easy thing at all, especially as a female. And it is worse when you have to carry out this work under very, very unpleasant working conditions. There are many times you work without light, you work without internet, and yet you are expected to submit results as and when due. You're expected to meet deadlines both by the postgraduate college and your department and the school calendar generally. I must say it has not been very easy. And when promotions come, you are told that all those efforts you have put forth so far, nobody except God sees it. All you need to get promoted are your publications, which most of the time must have suffered under these struggling to complete one assignment or the other without any mentorship coming from anywhere. So, but I must say the situation is changing now. We, in the last few years, the university has put in place an orientation program for newly appointed lecturers. I wasn't lucky to benefit from this during my own time. So, well, we are getting over the shock gradually, and we hope things will continue to get better. So thank you very much for giving me the chance to air my views.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Oyeniran. It was a root shock. That's great. That's great. I think we are having some kind of root shock today. So thank you for that, managing our time very well. We quickly proceed to Dr. Danimon. Dr. Danimon, you can unmute and speak.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Tom, and
Good afternoon.
and the audience. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity. My name is Dr. Mustafa Abdulsalam Danimo, presently associate professor, and also a senior consultant with the Department of Community Medicine and Public Health, College of Medical Sciences, Gombe State University. Well, for me, first I want to express my is it disclaimer they will say, especially when Dr. Tom, approached me that I should come and share, my own side of the story, how I joined the academia. First I was trained as a medical doctor. So academia was actually the last thing on my mind. I never had thought of it. And
Wow.
and usually for us, even in the medical profession, we don't really know much about the existence of the academia. We see our teachers as well, people who teach us, because they teach us in class and then they teach us in the clinic. So as far as we were concerned, we are training to become medical doctors. And personally, just like many other colleagues of mine, usually beforehand that when you are training to become a medical doctor, what comes to your mind is that you actually want to care for sick people. And since the main concern is to care for the sick, so you have a lot of work, ahead of you, and then you must be patient. You must inculcate this kind of compassionate, composure to be able to, and therefore the first thing on your mind is to acquire the skills, the knowledge and the skill for you to be able to adequately care for your patient. So like I told you, it's very difficult for you to start thinking of, academia, and then nobody tells you about that. Look, there's actually an academic career even within the medical profession. We just see it as, part and parcel of what we do. We look at our teachers as people who first and foremost were doctors, and then maybe, because we have to study within, the teaching hospital, a hospital that has been designated to also teach. So by virtue of them practicing there, they have to teach us, the students, you understand, who also are aspiring, to be like them. So academia was actually something that, had been issue within the medical profession, something I was actually ignorant about. I didn't know about it. I just see myself as someone who was learning to, become a doctor, and then maybe find myself in one hospital where I will continue to practice my profession, care for the, community. So of course, after all the rigors of studying and what have you, and becoming, qualifying, went straight into practice. First and foremost, you do your internship where you start to implement, practice what you've learned under supervision. And then the next stage, of course, is when you go for a service. That is when you start to really, practice as a doctor freely. Of course, if you are lucky, you may find yourself in a hospital where there's a senior colleague that still from time to time oversees what you're doing, or at least supervise your work. But other times you may find yourself alone, maybe even in a village, like in my own case. So things like that. So you can see my trajectory. There's never been a time I'm thinking that I'll end up in one classroom or so. So it wasn't even something on my table. So, but after that, of course, comes the the quest to further your education so that you can reach the zenith of your profession. And in our own case, we do our postgraduate, we go back to the hospital to choose a career path. That is, where do you really want to specialize? So that you can, is it that you want to specialize in childcare, like you want to become a pediatrician where your focus is only on children? Or no, you want to become a surgeon where you operate people? Or you want to become what we call an internist, that is those that, treat people with just medication like hypertension, diabetes. No matter what, they offer medication for people. And there are so many other fields. People specialize in eye care, ophthalmologists, even within the surgical community, you want to become maybe like an orthopedic surgeon, you specialize in bone and so on. So for me, early enough, I made up my mind that I want to become a community physician. That is because I was having gone through the study, I see the way people are suffering, and then you discover that there are certain things people could actually do, very simple things to prevent themselves, coming down with illness. And I realized that the aspect of preventive medicine, where the focus is on prevention, is within the community medicine and public health space. So I started to prepare, to join the postgraduate school to study and become a community physician, So this was my pathway until I completed my study. And then, of course, within the Nigerian context, finding where to now fix yourself became a problem. Because even within the medical, despite the scarcity of the medical professionals within the country, sometimes when you reach the zenith or this height in the profession, you start finding it difficult to even find placement. So, and that was how I ended up, within the academic sphere. So, of course,
So what shocked you?
Yes, what really
What shocked?
shocked me was that, like I told you, I don't know anything about the academic. Like before then, like I've told you before now, I knew what I wanted to do and I was focused on that. But when I entered the academic environment, I didn't really know what was required of me. I got my appointment. I sought for the appointment anyway. I got it. And all I just know is that, well, you are going to teach medical students and you teach them, of course, all the matters that concerns community medicine and public health. So that was how I started. So it was later on. So the first thing that shocked me is that there is no information at all. Nobody mentors you per se. Nobody tells you what to expect or what you need to do. Then secondly, there was lots of work to do. Apart from teaching, you have to prepare for exams, you have to mark the script, then you have to prepare results, and then you have to attend one meeting to another, you have to attend one meeting here, you have to be in one committee, and so on and so forth. And then apart from all these things, that was when I now realized you now have to sit, and continue to research, because research is also one aspect of your career. You're expected to carry out researches, attend conferences, publish papers, and then this will now serve as what you will present periodically to ask for promotion, and then there's no funding for this, and
Dr.
then you don't
Daniel,
have time. So these are mostly what have shocked me in the academic world anyway, just to put it
thank,
for short. Thank you very much. Yes.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can see some pattern in what our panelists has been saying concerning what shocked them and what inspired them to join academia. And Dr. Danimo, you mentioned about even personally, me that I'm not in your field. I do used to think that maybe the people that teach the medical students, they are different people. They are not academic until now that you are talking. That has been what has been in my head. So could understand how you are able to, how you felt when you finally find yourself in academia. Thank you very much for that narrative, that inspiring narrative. Now we are moving to Professor Erifeta.
Okay, I think I should quickly just appreciate the Academic Cafe Elite ACE community for having me this evening. Thank you for this excellent opportunity to share my experience, and thank you for all that you're doing. So that's my name, and I'm an ecotoxicologist and environmental biochemist from Igbinedion University. I've been in academics about 18 years, and I'm very pleased to be here this evening. So as some persons have graciously shared that they were into academics for some reasons, or it was their desire. For me, it was not my desire, it was not my intention. I would like to tell everyone this evening that I was divinely led into academics. I got it as a revelation to go into academics, and because it aligns with my personal goals of wanting to be a leader, because when I was in the university, I always looked up to my teachers and lecturers as born leaders, people that were ready to share knowledge, that were mentoring us into becoming what we want to be in the future. So after that divine direction, I aligned with divinity and I went back to school, went for my master's, applied after my master's, and I was fortunate to be employed to gain employment into one of the private universities. And that was how I started my journey in academics. So it was by divine direction, and God has been leading me through it. It has not been easy, but God has been faithful. So one thing that has shocked me in academics is how a lot of us, including me at some point, have mortgaged our initial desire to drive impact, to be born leaders, to mentor the next generation, how we have mortgaged that to the pressures in academics, how we have mortgaged our scholarly goals to focus on the academic demands like publishing. You know what the slogan we are used to in academics is publish or perish. So the focus will be let's just publishing papers. It doesn't matter how we get there and all that. So, and another thing again is I went into academics aligning with God's direction, because I trusted that that path was going to lead to huge success, especially financial reward. But another thing that shocked me was I found out that a lot of my colleagues, senior professors and all that, were not actually getting that financial rewards as expected. So that was a shock for me, because I used to think that, oh, all professors are wealthy and all that, but I found out that individually we have to map our way to success, to impact, to mentorship, to leadership, that it must be a personal decision, and it is not just the titles that actually attract the reward to you. So that was one of the things that shocked me in academics, and that was how I got into academics. That's my story. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. That is amazing. Thank you. And I can see a pattern of that vertical mentorship communication is lacking in academia, because virtually all our panelists have mentioned it, along with what really shocked them when they got into academia. And even to share my own story, I will also include that, because a lot of things you get to learn in the hard way along the line. And I think these are part of the truth that we academics do share away. We do try to avoid or not to speak about. And I think the more we begin to have conversation around this, the more we begin to focus on the major things Now, the more we do less of majoring in the minor and we begin to major in the major, like our prof just said, publish or perish. Now, we begin to understand that this is not supposed to be published or perish or visible or vanish. This has to be we being there, being the leader, being the mentor. And one thing is what you don't have, you cannot give. That is one of the big reality that is plaguing us in the academic. We go to become professors, then that mentorship, we never had it. We don't even know how it is done. So when we get to become the senior academic, then how do we begin to give what we don't have? So thank you to all our panelists, and let's proceed. And now you will all agree with me that every one of us on this call, we began our professional journey with a dream, and we have heard from our panelists. And this dream is about impact, about recognition, about growth, and about making that contribution to the society, to humanity. But what happens? Somewhere along the way, somewhere along this journey, we discover that this dream begins to face different challenges, different challenging realities. So I want Professor Erifta, please, having seen academia evolved over the years, what would you say you wish for in today's academic system that could have made it more compassionate, more impactful, and truly fulfilling?
Thank you so much. What I wish for in academics is that the system should stop totally, like yesterday, focusing on publish or perish. I think scholarship should be highly rewarded. The focus for academics, by all means, must be impact, leadership, and networking. And that is where the true success, breakthrough, and reward comes from. We must, by all means, drive impact. If impact is the focus, all the rewards will come. So I find that for a long time, I was also pursuing publishing articles and getting promoted. It got to a point after networking with the right people. That's why I mentioned networking. Networking is a strong component for academic excellence. So it was networking that brought my rewards in academics to bear. I started paying attention to networking and impact and collaboration, and that was where my breakthroughs, that was when I became a global voice to be reckoned with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. I can attest to that. Your first communication with me after one of our mastermind, I can attest to that you are a master let me put it, master networker. So, like you just mentioned, I think one of the panelists, Mr. Okewale, also mentioned something related to that. So we can see the pattern in academic, like a wise man said, if you impact million, then you get millions of value. So if we want the value out of academia, then we need to focus more on impact and leadership rather than throwing away what we're supposed to major in while we major in what should be the minor in academia. Thank you very much, Prof. And that is powerful. So, Dr. Daniman, I want from your own vantage point as a mid-senior academic leader, what do you wish the system prioritize more, both for lecturers and for students?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, there's so much we wished for, but just maybe a few things that comes to mind, because this course we're having is not something maybe you prepare for. It's something you just have to, search, do deep soul searching to see what are those things you probably have been missing, and you used to think that how you wish, this career path you've taken would have helped you fulfill your dreams. So me, some of the things or a few things I would have wished for is a situation where the academic environment enables scholars to be able to actually fulfill their dreams. Dreams being that, the ability to, share knowledge with younger ones and still get, rewarded for that. Not what we see daily where, academics are always poorly remunerated. They have to go for one strike or another just to get, welfare. Things like this usually demotivates you, and it actually makes you to start thinking whether you're in the wrong, kind of system or wrong kind of career. A place where there is this strong mentorship, especially for the young ones. Like as soon as the young ones should be aware of, a career path known as academics and what to expect, or what they are supposed to, or what is expected from them. This having to join there as a last resort, or maybe even after joining, not really knowing or having a mentor that guides you, tells you what you are supposed to start, doing and how to progress, is something that for me, I would have wished I had even very early, because some of those things is what I try to do even for my, younger colleagues that are coming up. Then I
Amazing.
would have wished, that environment, gives me access to, collaboration, even beyond the local setting, where you can collaborate with other like minds, to be able to achieve things and make impact. And also, I would have wished our nation place the academic profession at the highest level, whereby even national problems, that is local problems, they can look towards us that, okay, please, our well-learned people, can you, carry out some kind of research or study to provide solutions for us to, these problems. And then let the academic careers begin to make impact. What I mean by impact here is that, yes, today we have lots of universities, we are training students, but anytime we want to do something, is it locally, we want to build roads, we have to call someone outside Nigeria to come and help us build. We want to, formulate drugs, we still have to look towards the outside. My thinking is that, so all this learning, teaching, and what have you, what is the impact? Why is it not making impact? Why can't we provide solutions to our own problems? Why do you have to rely, on others? This is just a few things I wish, the academic, terrain could look like. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, Doc. This is interesting. And from what you have said, I can see a pattern that surrounds structure and purpose, leading us back to what actually is the purpose of academia, and how do we structure the system to actually achieve this purpose. Thank you very much, Dr. Danimo. Now, Dr. Oyenimo, I will move on to you now, because you are a mid-career academics. Now, what do you think is missing in the system, that is academic system, that you wish could change now, both for work-life balance and meaningful progress for the academics that work in that system?
Thank you very much. Leveraging on what my senior colleagues who have spoken earlier emphasized, the issue of mentorship is still very, very key. If you have good mentorship structures on ground, most of these problems can actually be solved. I could remember my first experience, my first publication so far was in a journal, in a college of education. I attended a conference there whereby the publication received a wide range of applause and recommendations and all that. When promotion came, I was told that it was wrong to have gone there to publish. And nobody told me this, as at the time I was putting in the effort. And I could remember another situation where, based on a letter that I recently received that had been made part in a departmental meeting as regards what my responsibilities were to be as a part advisor, I was immediately rebuked by a senior colleague. The situation left me more shocked than ever. I was wondering if, am I supposed to, is it a skill that one inherits? Is it something that is in the genes? Or it was a shocker for me. So for me, if we want academics who will be able to not only attend to their to activities that will promote their personal progress, if we want academics who will relate well with the students that they also groom and all that, it has to begin from somewhere. Someone who has benefited from good mentorship will most likely be able to dish out the same when he or she is entrusted with students for supervision or for advisory roles. So it's very important that the structure is put in place right from the beginning when academics are newly employed. It's interesting to note that most of the speakers that have contributed so far also pointed out this major issue. So it would be nice to have a solid mentorship structure on ground, where as the lecturer is newly coming in, he or she has access to a number of senior colleagues, not necessarily in the department alone, but outside, in cognate departments and possibly even in the academic wing, to groom him or her in those things that will help him to have his sail smooth in the academic journey. And also the issue of workload. Yes, I will wish for manageable workload for each and every academic staff. There are a number of programs that are currently ongoing that we have to struggle through thick and thin to avail ourselves of. A number of junior colleagues that joined, they have had to drop out at one point in time or the other because the workload is overwhelming. Processing of results, attending to publications and all that. And, this situation also leads to a kind of lecturers who are kind of apathetic to the progress of some of the students assigned to them. They become unnecessarily touchy. They are not forthcoming when it comes to communication, with their subordinates. So if these, suggestions are, given some attention, I really think some things will change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Oyiniwan. This is just system shifting perspective that you have brought in. Now, I could remember when I got employed with one pharmaceutical company before I left to join academia. It took almost more than 2 months to orientate me in that position of what to be done, what not to be done, how to do it, and how the communication has to flow. And when I get into academia, I discovered that I was expecting such, but it was nowhere to be found. And I think this conversation have to move beyond today and into our university community. As we move forward, we'll be understanding from our panelists what to do and how we can go about this, even in our individual way, in our university community. So let me move over to Mr. Okewole. Now, you are someone that I would say relatively new to the system. And when you look ahead, at your academic future, what are your wishes for what academia should become for your generation? Mr. Okewole?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. In response to that, let me just start with this. I wish scholars give as a metaphor of the knowledge and things that they publish. Because the academic system should resonate a structure desired by the immediate society in which they exist. They shouldn't just be a reflection of the social problems that the society is facing. And that is what I am observing now across academic environments, especially in Nigeria. So I wish this would change. And let me just say, for instance, in terms of
Okay, I
leadership,
used it.
in terms of, in terms of leadership, in terms of social interaction, in terms of how things system is organized. So I wish university system could be a good example for society. And more importantly, in addition to what I just said, or to society, I just wish there is this close and productive connection between academic research and the economic institution. I think Dr. Danimo once mentioned this, but I just wish to buttress it because, for instance, the product of academic institution should be reliable in the sense that those in private organizations, the mainstream society should be able to look up to the kind of knowledge, the kind of skill that people in academics are propagating to drive intended development in society. So, in terms of the research that we conduct, what we will bring out, there should be this connection that should be facilitated between universities and the private organizations. There was a time I was having engagement interaction with a friend of mine who is an employer. He said that, well, he would have loved that graduates are employable in his organization, but because they are just teaching them theory, they cannot do one thing or the other. What I said in response to that was that if you had taken action by saying, okay, somebody, I have somebody in the university, come up with a research, do a study on how to address that solution, and then if you can actualize or implement the result, then you become a trailblazer and others can follow you. So I believe there is this disconnection between private organizations, society, and the work of academia. And I wish this would change any time from now before it gets too long. And that is why society no longer see value in education.
Thank you, Mr. Okewole. Thank you. That means academia industry collaboration, academia industry integration, and that will go a long way to help us in academia and to help the economy of the country and Africa at large. And from all what I've heard, or we have heard from our panelists today, I hear a common longing for balance, fairness, and purpose-driven engagement, and which, as we also live here, we can also represent this balance, fairness, and purpose-driven engagement. So now we are moving into a section of this conversation that is about possibility, about daring to imagine a better version of academia. We want to imagine, we want to look at what it could be. Imagine a better version of academia now. But here is the thing, there is a challenge that I've consistently seen in academia. Now, we often see academia should lead change. We often about the academia should lead the change, they are full of learned individuals. But what we see, what the reality is that sometimes even the academia itself struggle to change. So, Dr. Danima, I will start with you. If you were to design a more compassionate and progressive academic system, what would it look like?
Thank you, Dr. Tom. Well, sometimes, just like you said, sometimes this could be wishful thinking, but it's something that's possible. I mean, all things that are possible started with a dream. Sometimes our dreams may even look impossible until we put down our feet and start thinking about it, or even trying to see, fine, how can it, or how can we achieve it? So if I were given that opportunity, or if I will, as you've put it, want to design the academic system, I would like it to be a platform where we can actually hinge both national and even global developments. That is, the academic field will be where things happen that could be adopted. And then how do I do that? By ensuring that people should be attracted genuinely. People who really want to make impact in the world should see the academic field as that place where they can actually come in, acquire the skills, and then make use of that skills to bring that, or to bring about development. So the environment should be conducive. The remuneration should be competitive. It should be something that should attract people. And then there is also this problem, maybe I think one or the other person have mentioned, funding for research is also something very difficult. As much as we know that the academicians are supposed to share knowledge, they are also expected to continue to carry out researches on how to further maybe improve our well-being or living. And then sometimes some of these groundbreaking researches it's very difficult to get funding. So I want it to be a place where there will be availability of adequate funding and easy to access, especially for people who have these good or innovative ideas that they would like to transform into reality. And then, of course, I want the academic field to reduce these bureaucracies. There are a lot of bureaucracies within the academic side. And then a system that should have a strong support system, especially for the young academicians that are coming up. Talking about that mentorship aspect that will groom them or groom their minds so that their ideas can get that fertile ground to grow. You understand? So an academician should not be thinking of what he will eat tomorrow. How will he even think when he's trying to pay the school fees of his children and other things? So I think most of my effort to be directed towards ensuring that the environment is supportive enough for them to be able to focus on what matters most, which is imparting knowledge and shaping the minds of the future leaders and academicians of tomorrow, while also being able to carry out studies and researches that will better our lives and position our nation in the global map as a place where we don't just consume but also produce. So this is just a few things on my mind. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Tom.
Thank you, Dr. Danimon. I once read in a book that there are three things to success: the people you work with, what you work on, and the environment where you work. And I think these are three things that Dr. Daniman has mentioned that will be in his plan of implementation for the kind of academic system that he will design. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Oyeniran, now you are in panelist where you are both led and you are also leading some other people. So because of this, and from this standing point, I want to ask, what are the institutional or cultural shifts that you believe could truly and sustainably unlock the potential of young and mid-career scholars?
Thank you very much, Dr. Thom. Part of the reforms that would need to be made is in the aspects of the promotion criteria, publication, the way publications are being assessed. In a previous masterclass, I was very happy to be part of that masterclass for some of the discussions that took place on local publications. We should stop being too hard on ourselves right here in Africa. We have a lot of brains here that are traveling outside the shores of Nigeria, and they are getting recognition in different fields of endeavor. So we should also hold some of our journals in high esteem, of course, having put the right things in place. There will be need for some systemic change, of course, as far as this foreign local ratio in publication is concerned. The emphasis on foreign publications with the extraordinarily high charges is giving room to a lot of malpractices here and there. You find people forming collaborations just to share publication charges. And at the end of the day, you hardly find one or two members of the group that can be coherent as to what the research work is all about. I don't see any value in this kind of meaningless collaborations. So, and I think part of what is bringing it about is this insistence on foreign. They also have, I have seen a few foreign journals and some very, very amazing quality of work that goes in there. And I keep asking myself in what way, what significant difference it would have made if, if it were to be an African journal or whatever. So we should, just like Dr. Dadima presently mentioned, we should have a system that is actually productive enough to train students that can actively contribute, that can solve our own real-time problems. Most of the problems we are bringing experts to come and solve from outside, there are problems that can be addressed there with the training that we're giving to our students. So let's begin to hold what is ours more dear. Whatever is, of course, there will always be some inadequacies, which we can always work upon. And as time goes on, things will get better. These systems that we are holding in high esteem today, that all of us are so eager to go and join, they also had their hiccups. They didn't take off perfectly smooth right from the beginning. They also encountered problems. And because they were committed to solving them, that is why they are who they are today. So we can also promote that over here. We can empower the system in whatever leadership positions we find ourselves. We can empower the system to be more problem solving oriented than consuming and finding the slightest excuse to ditch our land and run elsewhere. So once we're able to do this, it is likely that we will be having better quality publications. So it's a situation that calls for policy reform, most importantly. Let those in the leadership positions, let them realize that pushing people too hard may simply result in nothing but sharp practices that is not going to help the system in the long run. So now we see there are so many different plagiarism software. Rather than people going the extra mile to be original, to try and put more effort on whatever little they have, they are more interested in devising different means of jumping the requirements of one software after the other. So it's not the way out. So that's my own little contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oyinio. Now, one good thing is a problem that emanates from Nigeria will be better solved contextually. That means in relation to the culture of the people. Now, the challenge we are having now is when you are solving your own problem based on solution that was made in a place that is different from your own culture. Now, you discover that at the end of the day, the solution is not sustainable, then it creates more problem for the system. So thank you for that contribution, Dr. Oyeniwa. Now, Mr. Oke, as the voice of the new generation scholars among our panelists. Now, if you are given a blank slate, what kind of academic community will you design?
Okay, thank you for this question. For me, I would try to initiate action plan that will remove education from concurrent list to exclusive. And by so doing, so it's like moving education or university education back to how those that sold it to us or those that introduced it to us designed it from the beginning. You see, there was nothing like a private investment in education and all sorts. Everything was centrally controlled. And we can just try to adapt that design to the current demand. So that structural plan will make sense so that if we will have one voice. For instance, talking about the emphasizing publication, number of publications. I think that's one of the bases of academic because it is conflicting the kind of workload that people are experiencing every day. And then apart from that, looking at the mentorship issue, I think if we have this centralized system of controlling education in Nigeria, or most of the issues that have been raised or that will still be raised facing education will be addressed. I think that structural action is what I would advocate anytime, any day, because this is what I believe can work to actually reverse the path that we don't want education to go in Africa, not just in Nigeria. But we need to individualize our education.
Thank you, Mr. Okewole. All this goes back to the foundation. Let's have a way of restructure, reimagine from the foundation. Thank you, Mr. Okewole. Professor Erifeta, now you have mentored many scholars, and I want to ask, what could academia become if mentorship, the right collaboration, and ethics were truly institutional priorities rather than individual academics have to be making personal effort for those things? What will academia become if this mentorship, collaboration, and ethics were truly institutional priorities rather than personal efforts?
Thank you, Dr. Tom.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Some of us say academics is a difficult terrain right now because of remuneration. But if all these things you have mentioned are instituted in our communities, in our academic communities, I think a lot of persons will be motivated. But I think another problem I have seen in academics is we are relatively very selfish and self-centered, and we like to work alone. And one thing I learned in the course of my Commonwealth is the attitude of partnership and collaboration in research that always culminates into huge successes in the global space. You find out that the focus in these climes are majorly transdisciplinary research, where you see multiple fields co-producing solutions to solve community-based problems. And that's what we do not do here. We are either involved in intradisciplinary research, or the best we do most times is multidisciplinary. But I think where the world is going into now is collaborating with different fields to solve community problems. So I think researchers must find a way to solve the problem. A lot of some of our panelists have done this for people out there to come and resolve our problems. If you look at it, a lot of the EU grants and so, they collaborate with Nigerian universities to solve these problems. They are able to capture our problems and come up with fundable ideas that we can honor all work together to deliver solutions. That is the way forward. We can no longer continue to work in silos or work with researchers only within our environment. We must first do an essay of the solutions that we can resolve with our research and begin to resolve them. I have found that it's only solution-based ideas that are fundable. That is what it is now. So it is high time we begin to partner and get involved in transdisciplinary research that will involve a lot of it, NGO, governments, civil societies, to resolve problems. If you look at the academia, a lot of our professors that are blazing the trail are professors that are solving real-world, real-time problems. And I was telling somebody that if I knew what I now know, I wouldn't have gone through the path I went through some 20 years ago, some 15 years ago, because there are lots of funding available. But another problem is that academics are actually extremely busy. Somebody already spotlighted that problem. We are too busy to find the time to even look at what is obtainable, what is available. So my advice will be, academics must find the time to x-ray problems and look for partners, then focus on funding routes and opportunities to help them resolve that problems. If you have problems that you can partner with other fields to resolve and the idea is fundable, go ahead and look for funding opportunities. It will definitely come. You might not get it at the first instance, but I think trying a couple of times opens windows up. That is what I have seen. A lot of our professors that are blazing the trail are people that are solving real world problems and not working in silos. So the more we are able to network, the more we are able to partner and collaborate, the more we are able to identify problems that we can resolve with our research, the better we become, the better the institution become, the better the communities become for us. I think that is the way forward. If our research is still based on straight line research that are not solving real world problems, then we are not yet part of the solution. Academics need to be part of solving problems. And these problems can be community-based and the problems can be fundable if we find the time to look for these opportunities and privileges. And that is the easiest way to also mentor students. You see a lot of our professors that are, like I said, blazing the trail. They have a lot of students that they've sent across countries for PhDs, for masters, because of their very rugged partnership and collaboration and networking windows. So I think that is what we should focus on. No matter how busy we are, we should create time before the restructuring that we are expecting comes, when the remuneration will be good enough. I will encourage researchers to work very strongly on increasing their networking and partnership opportunities so that they can focus on solving problems rather than focusing on research that will only increase their citation index. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Well, one of the great things that Prof mentioned missing, which also is part of the limiting challenges that is facing academia in this part of the world, is partnership and the right collaboration. Which pathway to that, according to what Prof said, is networking, the right networking. Now, what we should begin to understand is we can't keep working in silos like what Prof have said. The people, even outside the academia, anybody that want to make great things happen, work in team. So now we should be understanding something in academia, that you cannot know every aspect. You cannot be good. You cannot be great at every aspect of even the research. There are some that, let me put it this way, they are gifted when it's come to writing. There are some that they have that skill to quickly identify that gap, to quickly know what research question should we be working on. There are some that even in the technological technological advancement, there are some that can quickly flow and get aligned with the use of all these digital platforms. So bringing all this together as a team make you to soar high, rather than you want to be the writer, you want to be the lab technician, you want to, no, there's no individual that is even 70% good in all these aspects. You can have idea in all the aspects, but there is that specific area that you are unique at. That is what you should bring into that collaboration, into that partnership. Then you discover that before you know it, you are winning, your team is winning Nobel Prize. So that is how it works. And with all what we have heard in this segment of this conversation, I can see that the vision that we are looking towards for academia is that vision that listens, that learns, and that lead with empathy. We want an academia where growth is the focus, and that growth is not measured just by the impact factors. We want the academia that the growth is measured by the human impact that we are making. And if that is the focus, then it becomes easier to even have integration with government, to have that integration with industry. And I think if we all, by what our panelists have said, if we want that academia of our dream, then we need to begin as individual to begin to choose courage over conformity. I think for me, that will be one of the bold insights from this conversation today. So let's proceed. Now, what it should be, Now, here we want to look at the responsibility. We want to talk about the responsibility. We have seen the dream. We have seen what we wished for. We have seen what it could be. Now, what are the responsibilities that we as individual and collectively that we can begin to make, that we make now academia to represent the best that we want it to represent? And this has to be by action, not just by what we wish. So I would like to start with Professor Erifeta. Now, from your wealth of experience, what should be the moral and the intellectual compass of the academic profession?
Yeah, like some of us already mentioned, I think integrity will lead us far in this profession, because integrity in research and the desire to take up responsibilities that will culminate into real-world solutions will help us see what we are actually delivering in academics. So I think the winning goal should be our desire to, like I said before, solve real-world problems, network with people, collaborate with both researchers and people in other fields to solve problems. I don't know if that answered your question.
Thank you very much. Integrity is key. That's one of the moral key, moral compass. Thank you very much, Prof. Now, if we are to be honest with ourselves and we want to fix the fact, we all know that the academic profession is losing its respect. So, Dr. Danimon, what should be the responsibility of we scholars in restoring the dignity and the relevance of academic profession in society like ours?
Thank you, Dr. Tom.
You're
Well,
welcome.
the truth is that there are lots of things we can do, but one of the things I think we can also do is to do a lot of advocacy to reposition the field, especially in terms of embracing the modern culture, modern teaching and research facilities, adopting newer ways, either through technology or methodology of training the students as well as the colleagues in the field of research, enhancing our skill. Because just like it has been mentioned, it's possible that there's this loss of confidence in us being able to actually bring solutions to the table or being able to create solutions, because most of our researches are not really innovative. They are mostly maybe directed towards just filling or making up the numbers that will just qualify you. And some of them cannot even compete when it comes to comparison in the international space. That is why my thinking is that apart from making advocacy for us to embrace new methodologies of teaching, of carrying out research, providing modern teaching facilities in our institutions, and also advocating for more funding for research so that academicians can think freely and then come up with innovations, no matter how strange they may look. As far as you'll be able to defend those ideas, of course, you'll be funded, and then we'll see how far you can go. Then again, we also need to ensure that there is a level playing field or competitive remuneration that will encourage people to actually go into this field and be able to excel. Because like I told you today, what we see is that academicians are struggling with little things that in normal or in developed climes they are not supposed to be struggling with. And this affects their ability to continue to carry out their duties properly or being able to be effective in research. So all these, and then we need to create maybe that supportive environment, and also environment that will encourage partnership, networking, and collaboration. Even that one is something we have to, because I agree with the prof. Even myself personally, like after being in the academic field for quite some time, it is just at this stage I started to also appreciate this collaboration. And I've found myself, I've been part of one or two collaborative groups like that. And my focus is also to identify groups like that where we collaborate and achieve greater things, where you can be a part of a great team and you make your own contribution. And that will add up to the bigger picture, and then you are able to do a lot of good things or bigger things, bigger than yourself. So before now, this collaboration has been very poor among us academicians. And most times, although when we go into other maybe field, you find other little things here and there. There's this race, to outwit one another, jealousy here and there. But all those things are just petty. The truth is that by the time we develop the platform where academicians can actually do real collaboration, the tendency that everyone within such partnership is likely to benefit. In fact, they will benefit, and then it will also contribute to their career growth, because it offers the opportunity to learn, or to learn about other things that you don't know, opportunities to explore and learn from other people, and then make your own contribution. And that will spur you on to even learn more about your own field, for you to position yourself to even make greater contributions to whatever you are working on. So my thinking is that if we can also ensure that we encourage that kind of environment where academicians can actually, we encourage collaboration, and then we also advocate for more funding. Like I was in one meeting where we're looking at and comparing, funding for research. When you look at developed climes, where even just the NHIS budget alone, it's more than probably the budget of Nigeria as far as funding research is concerned. But here in the country, where we have, agencies like TED Fund that support research, we discovered that the highest budgeted, all the highest they can give even for a research as big as NRS is just like 50 million, for instance, whereas in developed climes, they can give you up to billions. And sometimes, the researches we conduct, they have different parts. There's maybe in the processes, you need to develop certain things before you go to the next point. And when you hear the kind of funds that was given just to develop parts of the process that's leading up to the main target, you've not even gone to the main target, you are still in the, in developmental stage. You'll just be in awe, and you'll be wondering that this is where people value what research can bring to the table. So my thinking is that we need to ensure that the system is merit-based. There's that supportive policies and environment that will nurture great minds. And then they will also have funding available for them to be able to engage in innovative research that will actually, and then also these researches should not just be done and they will end up on the shelf. No. Once they are done, they should be embraced. Like there was one time I also saw an effort, I don't know, government driven, whereby if you have an innovative idea, you could actually register it and to be patented. And then there's this collaboration between the industries and the university, where industries can actually come and look at platforms to be created where you make exhibitions, and then they'll look at, or they could actually even come with their problem, and through such, maybe institute or maybe department, they present their problem to the academia, and then they will be willing to even fund, provide funds to support academicians who are willing to research that field and come up with solutions for them. So this is the kind of thing I think will really, really help in developing the field, and also making it more attractive for more people to join. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I said in what you have said is we still go back to what you don't have, you can give. That is what we still go back to. That I could remember there was a time I wrote about how we even do research in this country. The way we even do research, even our focus in our research, if we look at it very well, are we prepared, or are we designing those research to actually solve our problems, or we are designing most of our research to have something to publish out there so that we can bring them together at the end of the next 3 years, and you have your promotion. Now, I look at some open for PhD program fellowship, and I look at all the topics. I posted about it in the Academia Cafe community platform. When you look at all those topics, then you see why they solve their problem, why they are developed, and why we are developing. We call ourselves developing. It used to be third world country, but the change is to developing. And let's be frank with ourselves. Our research focus on actually solving our problem. And when we see some of the academics that are doing great out there, now the challenge is you notice that many of us want to be like, let's cover it up. I don't know, like we are trying to hide some things. How many are we out there? Are they be the numbers? The way we have the numbers that are doing great, that is the number that are also mentoring in the right. There's mentoring and there's mentoring in the right way. Then we will not be talking about that. Our talk will be different. But what we look at is if we have out of 10 that are making waves out there, you discover that you only have like 1 or 2 that are actually giving the right mentorship to those that are coming up. So that's why I say now those that are coming up, and you can't blame those that are not given the right mentorship, because what you don't have, you can't give. So that deeply goes back to mentorship missing. And how we do our research. We have to reimagine how we do research, because the research that we even win funds have to be a reimagined research. So, Dr. Oyeniran, see, researchers are not smiling. Let me put it that way. That's the fact. Researchers, academics are not smiling. Now, like I used to say, this is not for the boys and girls. Now, what would you recommend that our universities and maybe research institutions also, what would you recommend that they do differently to nurture fulfillment? Because when I say researchers are not smiling, we have been talking around it, the remuneration and all of that. Researchers are not being fulfilled. They are not empowered. So what will be your recommendation to nurture fulfillment and not just focusing on performance in our universities and research institutions?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll still be making references back to 1 or 2 things that we have actually touched. And I want to rephrase the question to, to shift the responsibility back now to the individual. Because if you look at it, there are actually a number of initiatives that you find at university level aimed at helping researchers access grants, writing workshops and all that, including the one we are presently engaged in. If you look at the number of days that the advert has been out, you would think that if our researchers or the people in the academia generally, if we are really interested in change, these are platforms that we should find attractive. We want to share our experiences. We want to listen to others. We want to, see whether some of these problems actually have solutions. So I want to emphasize that most importantly, we as individuals, we should be more inquisitive. We should be more open to change, because all what this is pointing out to us is that, things have changed. Those that became professors in the past, even within our systems, we learned about people who became professors with just 9 papers. With 9 papers now, you are just approaching the middle range of your career. So things are changing, and we have to be ready to embrace change on individual basis. When there are training opportunities, we should not wait to be, pushed to, take advantage of them. And well, we already found ourselves where we are. There's nothing much we can do than to just, what we owe ourselves is to ensure that we don't remain stuck in one place. Like Professor Rifeta mentioned, she said if she had known what she presently knows years back, she probably won't be where she is today. It's like that for most of us as well. And I must say that it's a person. It took her, some personal motivations to find out this. If you are waiting for the government to keep pushing you, or the educational institutions and all that, you probably won't get anywhere. And we should also disabuse the minds of the students we supervise and our mentees from all this idea of waiting for government to come and solve all problems for us. Other than policy, putting the right policies in place and probably infrastructure, we should learn to expect, not to expect so much from our government. Some of the best universities in the world are not necessarily run by government. Our thesis recommendation are always addressed in terms of government should do this, government should. I personally discourage my students from putting that because, your thesis hardly gets seen by the government anyway. So if the government is supposed to do it and it doesn't, take up the challenge, and is not even aware of your thesis anyway. So what would you, as an individual or those that you can easily hold responsible, what would you recommend them to do? So, whatever the institutions put in place, if we are not personally motivated, if we don't see reason to benefit from some of these initiatives, they die a natural death. There are a number of them out there which they have had to reawaken year after year, and there is always the same story. We hardly get any better results. So the takeaway is that personally, each and every one of us as academics, as researchers, we should go the extra mile to make the best use of whatever opportunities we have at our disposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Oyeniwan. Now you touched down on the long life learning. That's one of the things that is missing in academia. And our kind of learning that I've seen in this part of the world is so, how do I put it? So one-way traffic. I am an aquaculturist, nothing concerning about business. And yet, I keep complaining that I'm undervalued. Now, there's the business of aquaculture. What do I know about it? And even that alone can reshape, can redirect, can redefine how I do my research. So I think issue of learning, we also need to look around it. Like I love the way you reframe the question to get back to ourselves, because there's no help if you and I are not ready, no matter who is up there to help us, we will still sabotage ourselves. So the whole change, the help has to begin with individual of us. So the question is not, are there available advantages that we can leverage? The question is the few ones that are available, even like this conversation we are having today, how are we leveraging those few available opportunities? Because most times all we do is we engage in conversation that are not really supportive to us. Why we're supposed to focus, like Professor Ifeta said, we're supposed to have time and sit down and cut to ourselves, what are the challenges? What are the things that I need to realize now so that I personally can move forward in this career that I am? So thank you, Dr. Oyeniwa. And I will move to Mr. Okewole. Now, with the response of Dr. Oyeniwa, now we will all agree that what we are discussing here about academics is not just about having great ambition. Having great ambition is not enough in academia. Now, so Mr. Okewole, what should your scholar commit to beyond ambition to sustain excellence and relevance in the long term?
Thank you, Dr. Tom. I think on this note, I would like to recommend to my young colleagues in the academia to focus on these three things. One, maybe we should now try to, if there's no leverage coming from anywhere that would connect us with the town, then we should always focus our research on the productivity of this gown, or should I say private organization, so that whatever we are doing commercialized. For instance, you are coming up with a research, or perhaps you come up with a problem in society, then whatever your studies, whatever your research will be about in solving that problem should be, at the end of the day, what will be commercialized, what you can get profit from, even if you take it up yourself. That is one. And then number two is we should also look beyond just research or doing studies for publication, but to look out for, there are many sponsored or internationally sponsored studies that we can also be looking out to do. So few years ago, when I was working with a particular private research institution, in fact, I was marveled to the extent that most of the projects that should have been going to the university are actually finding their ways into these private research institutions. You can imagine, as of 2022, a particular research institution conducted a study that actually earned that organization of more than 800 million naira. This was a study conducted within 3 months. So I was wondering then that if people in the academics are complaining about funding, about other things that would improve their livelihood, things like this should be going to the academia, not private institutions, though they have their way of manipulating the situation, because I'm talking about international sponsored projects. So younger ones. So what I'm trying to bring out from this is that we should be looking out to projects or studies that are sponsored, because most of these are advertised. They are advertised in social media. So we should also be looking out for this as part of the way to actually add value to our life and then to what we are doing. And then lastly, I would say that I just want academic research resources to be focused on promoting indigenous science in order to initiate homegrown development and then stop living in the shadows of this Western country development structure. Because this is how I see it. Senior colleagues, many has been words of many scholars in the past have always been geared towards what the Western countries want for their own development. So we should now be looking inwards to see, okay, to initiate indigenous and then local or contextual development. Then our research should be reversed towards promoting epistemology, because if we keep on saying, for instance, now the talk of the research now is do something on STEM. You don't do something on STEM, then do something on SDG. All these are Western ideas. And if we keep on doing what they bring to us, that means we keep on throwing this unuseful modernization theory that we have find ourselves. We see them as our future. But we should do our own development ourselves. And if we have to do that, then we need to promote our indigenous philosophy. And young researchers, young people in academic now should find a reason in doing that if we are to make ourselves competitive in terms of global development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Okewole. I like the point that you conclude with contextual research. I've always believed that that is the way to go if we want to grow as a nation and as a continent. Our problems are peculiar. Our challenges are peculiar, and our approach should be contextual in nature. We can't be doing Western research to solve African problems. This is what we should begin to understand. And the more we keep going that route, I think the more we keep complaining that we are undervalued. Now, before we know anything, I'm on different academic platform. Then when conversation is ongoing, I begin to look at, we are still in, the challenge we're having is neo-colonialism. That's one of the problems we're having. Before we know it, the next thing is that how it's being done in the developed country? For crying out loud, are we developed country? This is Africa. It's like the challenge I'm having in my own family. I'm using the methodology of a neighbor to solve it. My neighbor married another wife, which the background, everything is different from my own. So I should be able to understand what is contextual to my own. And I think this is where we need to think. Thank you, Mr. Wale. And as usual, I'm excited that today's episode is pragmatic and also awakening. So I want to give a resounding call from what we have heard today to rebuild academia as a space that serves both humanity and history. A space that serves both humanity and history. That is what we need in African academia. That should be the focus. So a big thank you to all our panelists. And now we are going to be moving to our participants. Now, from our participants, now it's amazing that today we have scholars, mentors, and mentees from across Africa and beyond joining us today, and that is amazing, and I feel excited for that today. So now, please quickly, if you have a question, please kindly raise your hand or type your question and send it into the chat room. And please, I want us to keep our question concise, and let's direct our question to a specific panelist. Okay, we already have some questions in the chat room. Okay, let me check through. Okay, Dr. Doris, okay, from University of Calabar, you are welcome. It's excited to be here. And I have this from Mustafa Aliyu from Federal Teaching Hospital, Gombe. Okay, he said, I have a strong passion for academia. However, my major concern remains the issue of remuneration. I once attempted to transition into an academic role, but the significant drop, almost half in salary, compelled me to reconsider that decision. Of course, self-care is very important. You must have stability to a certain extent to be able to impart knowledge on others. This experience has strengthened my resolve to advocate for improved and competitive remuneration for academicians in our universities. Strengthening academic compensation is essential not only for attracting skills professionals, but also for sustaining excellence in teaching, research, and capacity building across our institutions. Thank you, Mustafa Aliyu, an oncology nurse at the Federal Teaching Hospital, Gombe. Thank you for that contribution. Okay, Dr. Abdullahi Olawale, you raise up your hand. Now you can unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, happy new week to everyone over there.
You're welcome, sir.
This opportunity to appreciate the panelists. They've done a great job. I do appreciate them. Then I want this forum to believe the fact that governance overrides every sector, education inclusive. When we have a situation whereby we have scholars who have carried out some groundbreaking research or researches, but when the atmosphere is not that conducive, yet they continue to strive probably for some reasons. But notwithstanding, the attitude of our governments, both at national level and state levels, are not encouraging. And I'm going to support this with a reference to a research, a groundbreaking research by Babafonwas, which had to do with indigenous language as a mode of instruction. Yet, government has not done anything about this. And individually, this cannot be implemented. Yeah, but when we are talking of area of languages or probably linguistics, little or no recognition is given. Now, I want the panelists to assist by throwing more light on this and the way out. Thank you very much.
Dr. Abdullahi.
I think I've made my submission. Is it clear? Or should I come
Thank
again?
Thank you very much. We want you to, yes, you have made your submission, but if you can help us more clarify your question and maybe possibly direct to one or two of the panelists.
Okay. One of the panelists said that, I think Dr. Adedino, she said when she was talking that everything should not be put on the table of the government. That is to say, we should strive and do things ourselves, but we should not forget the fact that governance overrides everything, even education inclusive. So even when the researchers, they come out with some findings and the environment is not conducive enough for them, for those findings to be implemented, what should we do? I think it is high time those in power be engaged. They need to be engaged. They needed to be engaged. Why attention should be given, especially when it has to do, when finding has to do with solution to our problems. A good example, because I'm from the field of linguistics, a good example is that of Babafonwa, carried out many years ago. Nothing. And this type of findings can never be implemented singly. It has to be central for it to be effective.
Okay.
Hello?
You said what should be done, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want their own
now,
position. Because
okay,
partially, I disagree with the submission. Because at times, when the environment is not conducive, it will demotivate the academics.
Okay, I think
at the end of the day, findings will be done.
Dr. Yeniwa is already responding.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
In line with that, that's common saying that seeing is believing. Some of these researches, some of these innovations that we are talking about that we usually do not get government attention for, there are things that are, well, from my own view, there are things that we really need to demonstrate that there are things that are workable. See, the way the world operates now, we call ourselves a developing country, or rather they call us developing country for a number of reasons that are not far-fetched. We, up till now, we are mainly a country that consumes. There isn't much that we are exporting outside the shores of the country. And that is one of the major reasons for our present economic predicament. In all honesty, most of the things we use, how many of them are made in Nigeria? So the government will draw back less, or any other body for that matter, even put the government aside. When you find something useful, you naturally gravitate towards it. You don't need any convincing. You don't need anybody to come and market the thing beyond what is needed. So why I'm maintaining that stand, of learning to do certain things with them as the last, body on your mind. Because if you have to start waiting for government on most of the things we want to do or we are doing, we'll probably not get anywhere. We'll probably not even be motivated to start those things in the first instance. But when you do things and you make a big breakthrough on it, naturally, people you never even invited, they will come and buy into it because they find it useful. So we need to go the extra mile sometimes to, first of all, demonstrate. That's why I'm also open to the idea of a homegrown research that is contextual in nature. Some of these problems, let us first of all solve them internally. Let the public see what you are doing with it, and let the news spread around. We don't need to be the ones that would even take it to their notice. So these projects that you are talking about, yes, it was tested. It was tested right here in Obafemi Awolowo University on the staff school children. Some of them are now mothers and fathers, and for a number of years. And well, to the glory of God, most of them have graduated and they are doing fine. But just one isolated location is not enough. This is a thing that, if possible, if it were to be pilot tested in many more different basic educational institutions across the country, how many of the people that the so-called governments, which is no particular individual, which is an entity that comes and goes. But I know that if some of their children had benefited from the system and they found that it was something that would really be beneficial, then we wouldn't have much convincing to do. So rather than trying to run after the government to give their goodwill to most of what we do, I think what we owe ourselves is to perfect whatever it is, do our own testing in as many different locations or as many samples as possible. And by the time people start buying into it, even the government will not have an option than to come in and give their blessings. So these are the approaches. If we keep waiting for government on most things, then we will remain where we are. So may God help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just contribute to
Prof.
what Dr. Oyiniro has said?
Yeah, Prof, you can contribute.
Okay, thank you very much. I think what we are saying in this conversation is that the problems we've had in academics are not only government-centered.
Yes.
There are lots of issues, lots of responsibilities academics need to take up. Like you pointed out and mentioned a particular research idea that was not bought in by government. Do you know a lot of these professors that have recorded groundbreaking researches have also experienced one or two limitations like that, but they rose above it and went into newer grounds, located more other problems that they could solve with their research, got partnerships and collaborations, and now they are making impact and driving global changes. What we are saying is, yes, there is a place for government reform, there's a place for government interventions, but academics must be innovative enough to be problem solvers. I was going to add, to round off the conversation, if I was given the opportunity, maybe I should just say it now. There was a training opportunity I had, and the focus was stimulating sustainable entrepreneurship on researchers, because we found out that a lot of scientists are not seeing what they are doing as business. Even Jesus said, I'll be about my Father's business. You must have the entrepreneurial spirit to know that the ideas you are coming up with must be sellable, must be fundable. Then you give it the necessary approach. I've been on a research for over 5 years. And for that 5 years, aside from the impact assessment, I didn't publish any part of that data because there was somewhere I was going to. I was looking forward to patenting. I was looking forward to intellectual property and all that. So I kept this data until I had something that was substantial. What we are saying is that researchers must be intentional. Researchers must be problem solvers. Researchers must be entrepreneurial. Researchers must know how to communicate their research so that they can get the right partnership and be able to solve problems. And once they begin to do that, the profiting will begin to come. When you have hiccups and limitations at one point, look at how you can transform that into something else that will resolve into bigger solutions. And if you just like Dr. Yeniron said, you get to a point where even the government can no longer neglect you or can no longer look down on what you are doing. So everyone must be as innovative as possible to keep mentoring, to keep partnering, to increase their network to the extent where they come up with solutions that are fundable, solutions that gives you a voice in your climb. So government has a part to play, but we also have a part to play if we want this institution or system to be transformed. I think that's what we're saying. We're not saying government are not the major drivers in this institution or this system. We're just saying that everyone has a part to play and we must play our part in full so that we're not docile members of this institution or system. And by so doing, we get the academia that we want, that is not only focused on publish and perish, but it will now be for us, publish and prosper based on the solutions we are bringing to bear. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you for that contribution. Now, what is happening is government govern the people. But when we check history, I just mentioned that an academia that is driven by human impact and history. When we look at history, even the America that we call the God's own country today, one thing that developed America is not actually the American government. They are the people of America. People develop the society. Governments now make policy to ensure there is order in that development. We need to begin to understand that, and it will not come easy. In the American story, history, we have people like Martin Luther King, we have people like John D. Rockefeller, we have all of them pass through unique challenges to make America become what America become today. And one thing I want us to own today is ownership, most often than not, in academia and by many academics, is we define ownership as management. Now, when we have a research, we want to manage everything around that research, and we keep blaming some people when we don't even give some access, when we don't do the right process that we should be doing. The research that you are doing, do you know the laws that surround that research? After you've gotten out your result, did you know what to do, even to call the attention of government? Going to meet people in government does not mean you will get their attention. I used to say something, I learned it the hard way. Access is different from connection. Now, access is what we used to pursue. I want to be in that conference. I want to have access. Then you see people making snapshots with the leader in that place. That is not connection. And there are some people that you never see in a snap, in a picture with that leader, but day by day, they are communicating on WhatsApp and the next to do so. We need to begin to understand that ownership, we want to own our findings. Ownership is not management. Ownership requires communication and leadership. And when we understand what is leadership, then we begin to understand that many of us in academia, we are lagging behind in the area of leadership, and that is why nobody is listening to us. And most often than not, we look for permission. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Policy can restrict or limit our what we can do part-time in a nation, but we have heard of people that move out of their country because they want a research study. I think, was it penicillin or which of these antibacterial that the researcher has to even inject himself for the government to know that this is working? How many of us can go to that length? What are the proofs of what we have done? And there are different ways that we can make our research impact. Did you know that what we are doing today is more important than some of the research that we carry out in our laboratories? What we are doing on this conversation today. Because today, you can realize that when you are doing a research, what aspect of this research can I patent? What is intellectual properties? What law are guiding the outcome or the insight from this research? And you know, when you want to talk to the people that are policy makers, there's language you communicate with them. Like I've taught in different of our programs, of our masterclass, the language we use in academia, the people in the industry don't understand it. The people in the government don't understand it. So you have to rework and adapt your work for them to understand it. There is nobody that will realize the value of something to himself or to his generation and we push it aside. So we need to begin to know how to market ourselves. Think like a knowledge entrepreneur. So Dr. Abdullah, you are still raising up your hand. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate their contributions, but maybe probably we are talking from different fields.
Okay.
I'm talking as a language educator. I can remember there was a time I was carrying out a particular research a few years back. Before I could have access to schools for me to gather data, I found very, very difficult, very appalling. There was a time I went to WAEC headquarters in Yaba, Lagos. For me just to have access to data, it was very difficult. That is from the perspective of gathering data. Even when the result is out, you can't just implement it without government permission. I'm talking about language education researches, because government owns schools. When government doesn't give you permission to implement it in government schools, will private schools owner allow you? They will believe that definitely you want to tamper with their curriculum or whatever. So I think what I'm not disputing the fact that academics should sell themselves, but it depends on the product. Maybe probably in the agricultural sector that is possible, and that's possible. But in language education, I think for us to have headway, I'm talking practically, maybe probably we need to engage governments, send the ideas to them so that the platform through which the findings will be implemented will be given. Because as a researcher with findings, for you to implement it, you need to use it in the field. And where is the field? We find our face in different schools run by our government or by government representatives. So I knew how many times I had to repeat going to Ministry of Education for me to get permission to use their schools, just for to carry out research. So all these they are hindrances, which I think academic community needs to engage the government. And when the need arises, the permission will be given. I'm not talking about that the government we should rely on government. But there are some things we may find difficult to do without government support. That's my position. I'm looking at the whole thing from my own field. I'm not being generalized. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. I personally, I love this kind of conversation, and that is why we call it conversation, and we don't want it to end here. We should also live here and get into our different university communities and continue this conversation until the right things are done. Now, I want to mention some few things. There's what we call timing. When the timing is not right, that idea might look like it is a failed idea. So we need to begin to also understand timing. Now, there's some idea that Prof mentioned something, said he has to not publish anything for the period of 5 years he was doing that research. That is timing, because you have to know when to put something out. You have to know the aspect of your research to let loose in 2025. Now, if you have followed us on even Nurture Essence Learning, you will see the stages we follow in our programs, because timing is key. And one thing at times is who we work with, what we work on, and where we work. Everything has to integrate. Now, I don't know, you will seem to know about Montessori. Now, for that to become a word way or word system, or how do I put it, of teaching, it was not an easy thing for Montessori to push it out. Now, when you also look at Mother Teresa, and when you watch the documentary, you will know what she also has to go through. But at the end of the day, she still pushes through. Now, what I want us to pick from all this is government have roles to play, and individually as researchers, we need what is greatly missing among us. We need personal leadership. Let's begin to admit that individual of us need personal leadership. And when we leave this conversation, we can begin to Google or find out more about what personal leadership means. Then we begin to understand better on how to begin to position ourselves as regards what we love most to do. So thank you very much. I would like to quickly thank all of us for the contribution, for the participation, for the thoughtful contribution also from our panelists. I want to thank all of us for this conversation. Like I've said also earlier, please, let's make this as just the beginning of this awakening. Let's live here and let this conversation continue in the right way that it will serve and sustain academic profession. So before we let go of our panelists, let's go into the rapid fire round. Now, here what we do is you give us one thing to wish, one change that can make it happen. So individual of our panelists, this is what we do. I will give a prompt, which is what is on the slide, and you are going to respond to that prompt in one sentence in 1 minute. So the prompt is, if you could make one wish for academia and one change to make it happen, what would it be? So I start with Professor Erifeta.
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening once more, everyone in there on this conversation. One wish I would really desire for academics is the desire to work with integrity. I found that what scholarship can build, lack of integrity can ruin it. And that is what has happened to some of our professors in the past. So let everyone imbibe integrity and run with it, especially when you are working with partners out there in the global space. Some persons have really messed up research for a lot of us in Nigeria. Everyone must learn to run and work with integrity to a reasonable extent. I think it's going to help us and it's going to make everyone trust us more.
One change to make that happen. One change. What one change will you recommend to make? Change.
We should be intentional about what we do. We should be intentional about what we do. And yes, intentionality is very important. Intentionality is key. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. Dr. Danimo.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Tom.
One wish,
Well,
one change,
yes,
make it up.
one wish is for me, I think I would say that wish is for the academia to reclaim its place as a foundation for national development. That is, the academia should occupy the highest position whereby to turn to it for solutions, especially in regards to issues of national development. Because just like has also been pointed out, we seem to have lost that position, probably due to practices in the past. But my wish is for it to go back to that glory days, whereby the academia will begin to play a central role in policy development as well as in contributing towards making our lives better in this country. Yes.
So what is the one change you will recommend?
Well, the change I think that can make this happen is to create that environment, supportive environment, where
supportive environment.
Yes, we have to create that environment so that the academicians will thrive, and then they will invite the integrity and other aspects that will make them excel and win over the confidence of the population.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Oyeni.
Yeah, my wish for the academia is for it to be more open to change. We should stop protecting traditions that have not really helped us, especially in contemporary times. So I would want that to happen through provision of a conducive environment in terms of giving academics the chance to attend conferences and at least funding it, because a lot of opportunities are available which people are unable to take advantage of because of timing, sometimes because of the workload, and most of the time because of the cost. So our institutions should assist academics to mix with academics from other climes, and so that we can continue to improve on the present practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Okewole, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. So I wish the academia would reclaim its value in initiating national development, and then to lead the required adaptive and contextual development that can actually make us leap into global competitive development. And then, so one thing that could actually catalyze that is to centralize the control and management of education. I want to emphasize that we need to centralize it. So it is by centralizing it that all these ideas, suggestions to purge our education of social progress would work when we have a central platform that is trying to initiate and implement policy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Wow. I must confess that these are golden thoughts to wrap up the conversation today. Professor Erifeta, thank you so much for your perspective shifting insights. I must say they are groundbreaking. Dr. Danima, your practicability and sustain. You're welcome. Your practicability and sustainability focused contributions are well appreciated. And Dr. Yeniwan, we appreciate you for your mind shifting perceptions. They are life changing. Thank you so much. And for the innovative contributions you brought to this conversation today. In fact, I must say you are a change maker. We look forward to more early career academics like you. Thank you all for being here. I'm so much grateful for this conversation today. So, as we close this thought-provoking episode of Publish and Prosper today, I want to once again appreciate our panelists for their honesty, depth, and inspiration. And to our audience, thank you for your active participation. And we hope that this is what your time, this is a rewarding experience for you all. And to our amazing ACE community, thank you for showing up once again, not just as participants. Thank you for showing up as partners. You give us this platform, and our panelists are also ACE members, including me, that are moderating it. So I'm also thanking myself for this platform, for changing the future of academia. So now, if today's conversation stirred something in you, please don't let it end here. Like I've been ringing it since during the conversation proper. Don't let it end here. Let us keep the conversation alive, even in our classrooms, in our department, and most importantly, within our university communities. And here is my major takeaway, like we always have at the end of the conversation. Here's my own major takeaway, which I consider as the keyboard insight for this episode 3 of Publish and Prosper. The future of academia will not be written by policies alone. It will be written by people who dare to rethink, rebuild, and recultivate the system from within. So I am Dr. Tom Idu, the activator, and on behalf of the entire ACE community, I say thank you all for being part of Publish and Prosper episode 3. Until next time, please ensure that you keep publishing, keep prospering, and most importantly, keep believing that academia can be what it should be. So that is it pretty much for today. But like I said while we started, for your gift that I promised, please get your free copy of the PDF resource via the link on the slide. And also, you can join, if you are not yet in a utilization lab, that means join our upcoming AI Academia weekend. It's a quarterly mastermind. And the next quarter, in this quarter, which it will be having the topic AI-driven research identity mastermind. In this mastermind, the focus is how can you master AI-informed research strategy that will establish your legacy of groundbreaking, globally recognized scientific contribution. So you can use the link also on the screen to join, or you send it across to your colleagues. And replay of this conversation will be available on our official YouTube channel, Academia Cafe YouTube channel. The link also is on the screen. Also, if you want to make some contribution towards our next Publish and Prosper, please, you can DM the WhatsApp number on the screen. Send, maybe you have what we should be discussing or who we should be bringing on board. Please, you can send your DM to this WhatsApp number on the screen. And before you leave, now, if you are a committed scholar or academic researcher, this mastery combo will change everything for you. If you don't yet have access to them, please, this will help you to reimagine, redefine, and rebuild your relevance, visibility, and recognition that you desire. This will help you to reimagine how you do your research and how you do your publishing, especially what you do in your research, how you design, and what follows after you are done with your research. Now, the first one is AI Academic Publishing Strategy Blueprint. This is a 3-day powerful mastermind with added bonuses, including 6 complimentary resources material in PDFs and videos to ensure your mastery and the implementation without needing us. With this mastermind, you master all the strategies you need as academic professional or researcher to position your research and the publications for maximum credibility and unmatched global recognition in this AI era without compromising ethical standard. And the second one in the combo is smart publishing for researchers. This is a 2-day fully practical hands-on masterclass with bonus link to 3 complimentary practical demonstrations for your practice. The masterclass is a fully hands-on real-time practical workshop on how to publish smart with precision, ethically publish in reputable journals without paying the price, use AI to increase your research visibility, and get your work seen, cited, and recommended globally with no limitation, and leverage your publications to attract opportunities and reward both locally and internationally. Now, in this combo, you will understand the power of publishing in African journals and how you can leverage that power. You will understand your research design, determine your publication. And we show this now. Today price is 70,000, but okay, at the end of this, you will get a certificate, which is on the templates on this screen. The certificate is from Natural Essence International, which is a CAC certified professional training organization. That's where the certificate will be coming from. And you will also have access to all the bonuses that I've mentioned above and that attach to all this. And now, if you make your payment before 12 p.m. November 19, you will get this entire mastery combo for just a fraction, 30,000 naira only. And you will have a free membership access to Academia Cafe Elite Network. Now, please, once you make your payment, please send your proof of payment, full name, and a Gmail address to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And for those for international payment, please use the gateway payment gateway link also on the screen. But I want you to know that this offer only lasts till 12 p.m. November 19, 2025. After then, the price goes back to 70,000 naira. So thank you all for your participation. And until next time, keep publishing, keep prospering, and keep winning. Now, like I used to say, life is like a game of chess. It is my hope that you choose to be a king. So thank you all. And don't forget to screenshot this and make your payment before the deadline. So thank you for being here, and gracias.